Hey guys, tonight we begin with a curious little journey into the past, where the nights were long, the beds were strange, and sleep was, well, not quite what you'd expect. Imagine a world where people thought sleeping through the night was suspicious, where your mattress might be stuffed with straw, or if you were fancy, feathers from some very unlucky birds. The medieval era, with its odd rituals and quirky beliefs about rest, is our destination tonight. It's a tale of peculiar habits, unexpected logic, and the kind of history that makes you raise an eyebrow while sinking deeper into your pillow. If you enjoy this kind of thing, wandering through the dusty corners of the past, maybe give a like or subscribe, but only if you feel like it. No rush. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that gentle hum, and let's slip into the quiet, candlelit world of medieval sleep. You're about to drift through a time when bedtime was anything but ordinary. You wake up in medieval Europe, sometime around the 12th century. The air is cool, heavy with the scent of wood smoke and damp stone. You're lying on something. It's not quite a bed as you know it. It's a wooden frame, maybe, or just a pile of straw on the floor if you're not one of the lucky ones. If you're in a wealthier home, you might have a mattress stuffed with wool or feathers, but don't get too excited. It's lumpy, and the feathers poke through the rough fabric like tiny quills plotting their revenge. Sleep in this era isn't just about closing your eyes and drifting off. It's a ritual, a performance, almost a battle. You don't have a cozy duvet or a memory foam pillow. Pillows, in fact, are a bit of a scandal. Some monks and priests warn against them, calling them decadent, a gateway to sinful idleness. You chuckle at that, but you're too busy scratching at the fleas that seem to think your bed is their personal kingdom. The irony? While you're tossing and turning on your straw-stuffed sack, the nobility are hoarding their feather beds like dragon's gold, boasting about how soft their sleep is. But even they don't sleep alone. Beds are shared, sometimes with family, sometimes with strangers. Inns, if you're travelling, might cram 4 or 5 people into one creaky frame. Privacy? That's a modern invention. You're lucky if your bedmate doesn't snore, or, worse, decide to steal your blanket in the middle of the night. As you lie there, staring at the flickering shadows cast by a tallow candle, you realise sleep isn't just about rest. It's about survival. You need to wake up tomorrow, ready to plough a field or dodge a tax collector. But the night is long, and the medieval world has some very strange ideas about how to spend it. It's midnight, or as close as you can guess in a world without clocks ticking on the wall. The village around you is hushed, wrapped in a stillness broken only by the soft hoot of an owl or the distant rustle of leaves in the night breeze. You stir in your bed, a creaky wooden frame if you're lucky, a pile of straw if you're not, and your eyes flutter open. You're not waking because you're done sleeping, nor because some nightmare has jolted you upright. No, this is simply the time for your first sleep to end. In medieval Europe, sleep doesn't come in one unbroken stretch, the way you might expect in your modern world of 8-hour schedules and blackout curtains. Here, in the 12th or 13th century, sleep is split into 2 distinct acts, like a play with a quiet, contemplative intermission. They don't call it anything fancy, but centuries later, historians will name it biphasic sleep. For you, lying in the cool, smoky darkness, it's just how the night works. Your first sleep began a few hours ago, shortly after the sun dipped below the horizon and the last embers of the day's work faded. You'd eaten your supper, maybe a bowl of pottage, thick with barley and whatever vegetables the season spared, and you'd crawled into bed, pulling a coarse woolen blanket up to your chin. The world slowed, the fire in the hearth dwindled to a soft glow, and you drifted off, lulled by the rhythmic chirping of crickets outside. Now, though, you're awake again, and it feels perfectly natural. This isn't insomnia, not a flaw in your rest. It's the watch, the strange, almost magical hour or two between your first and second sleeps, when the world seems to pause and invite you to linger in its quiet. You sit up, careful not to disturb the person next to you, maybe a spouse, a sibling, or, if you're at an inn, a stranger who smells faintly of ale and sweat. The straw beneath you rustles, prickling through the thin fabric of your mattress. You rub your eyes and glance around the room, its edges softened by the faint flicker of a tallow candle you left burning low. The air is cool, heavy with the scent of damp earth and wood smoke, and you feel a strange clarity, as if the night has gifted you this moment to simply be. In this medieval world, the watch is as much a part of life as ploughing fields or baking bread. It's not something to fight or resent, it's expected, even cherished. What do you do with this time? The possibilities are as varied as the people sharing the night with you. You might slip out of bed, your bare feet brushing against the cold, packed earth floor, and shuffle toward the hearth. The fire needs tending, its embers glowing faintly, threatening to die if you don't add a log or two. You poke at it, coaxing a small flame back to life, and the room warms just enough to take the edge off the chill. Maybe you reach for a hunk of bread or a bowl of leftover pottage, cold and congealed but still filling. You chew slowly, savouring the silence, your thoughts wandering to the day's work or the rumours you heard at the market about a wolf prowling nearby. If you're devout, and most folks are, at least outwardly, you might kneel by your bed and murmur a prayer. The Psalms are popular, their familiar cadence a comfort in the dark. You whisper, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," and the words feel like a shield against the uncertainties of the night. Some say demons lurk in these quiet hours, waiting for a soul to wander too far from grace. You're not sure you believe that, but you cross yourself anyway, just in case. The church has a way of making even the coziest moments feel faintly perilous. Others in your village might use the watch for less pious pursuits. You've heard the giggles and rustles from neighbouring houses, the soft creak of a bed frame that suggests someone's taking advantage of the privacy, or as close to privacy as you get in a world where walls are thin and families share rooms. The watch is, after all, a time when the world is still, when children are asleep and the day's demands are far off. It's no surprise that many a child is conceived in these stolen hours, though the priests might cluck their tongues and remind you that even marital joy should be tempered with restraint. You smirk at the thought. Priests don't have to share a straw mattress with someone who steals the blanket. The irony of this split sleep rhythm is that it's not just practical, it's almost sacred. People believe this is how God designed the night, sleeping through from dusk to dawn. That's for the lazy, the suspicious, or maybe even witches. A proper sleeper wakes for the watch, uses it wisely, and then settles back for the second sleep until morning. You've heard tales of far-off lands where people sleep differently, but they sound fanciful, like stories of dragons or saints who wrestle demons. Here in your village, the two sleeps are as natural as the tides. As you sit by the fire, nibbling your bread, you might let your mind wander. The watch is a time for thinking, for turning over the little worries and wonders of your life. Will the harvest be enough to pay the Lord's tithe? Is your neighbour's new cow really as fertile as he boasts? You picture the fields beyond your door, silvered by moonlight, and wonder if the stars hold answers. Some folks, you know, use this time to write, monks in their chilly scriptoriums, scratching out chronicles by candlelight, or merchants tallying their accounts. You're no scholar, but you might scratch a mark on a stick to remember how many eggs your hens laid this week. The watch is practical like that, a pocket of time for tasks too small or too quiet for the bustle of day. If you're feeling restless, you might step outside, wrapping your cloak around you against the night's chill. The village is a different place under the stars, its familiar shape softened and strange. You check the latch on the hen house, listening for the soft clucks of sleeping birds. A pig snuffles in its pen, dreaming of acorns or whatever pigs dream of. You glance at the sky, where the moon hangs low, and you wonder if it's true what the old women say, that a full moon makes people mad. You feel sane enough, but you hurry back inside all the same, unwilling to tempt fate. Back in bed, you settle in for your second sleep. The straw crunches beneath you, and you adjust your position, trying to avoid the lump that always seems to find your hip. Your bedmate mutters something incoherent, and you smile, wondering what dreams they're chasing. The second sleep feels different, deeper somehow, as if the watch has cleansed your mind of the day's clutter. You close your eyes, and the world fades into a soft haze, the fire's crackle blending with the distant call of a nightjar. This rhythm of two sleeps isn't just a quirk of your village or your time, it's woven into the fabric of medieval life, from the muddy hamlets of England to the stone cities of Italy. Scholars will later find references to it in letters, diaries, and even medical texts, though you don't know that. You just know that when you wake again, as dawn paints the sky with streaks of pink and gold, you feel rested, ready to face the day's labours. The watch has done its work, giving you a moment to breathe, to pray, to love, or simply to exist in the quiet of the night. There's a strange beauty to this pattern, a reminder that life doesn't always need to rush forward in a straight line. The medieval world, for all its hardships, understands this. Sleep isn't just about recharging for another day of toil, it's a space for living, for weaving small moments of meaning into the long tapestry of night. As you drift into your second sleep, you feel the weight of the world lift, just a little. The stars are still out there, the fire still burns low, and the night holds you gently until morning. You don't question this way of sleeping. It's just how things are. But if you could peek into the future, you'd be amused to learn that people will one day sleep in one long stretch, their nights unbroken by the watch. You'd wonder how they manage without this quiet interlude, this gift of time to think and dream and be. For now, though, you're content. The straw is soft enough, the blanket warm enough, and the night is yours. You close your eyes, and the second sleep carries you away into the deep, gentle dark. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and violet, you begin the slow, deliberate process of preparing for bed in your medieval world. The day's work, whether hauling water from the well, tending to the fields, or haggling at the market, has left you weary, your muscles aching for rest. But sleep in this 13th century village isn't something you just fall into, like slipping into a warm bath. It's a journey, a careful dance of rituals and precautions, each step laced with meaning and a touch of caution. The night, after all, is not just a time for rest. It's a realm where the veil between the earthly and the supernatural feels thin, where spirits might wander and dreams might carry messages from beyond. You, lying in your modest home of timber and thatch, know this instinctively. Bedtime is no simple affair. It's a performance, a blend of practicality and superstition, designed to carry you safely through the dark. You start with the bed itself, a humble affair that's more function than comfort. If you're fortunate, you've got a wooden frame laced with ropes, supporting a mattress stuffed with straw, or, if you've scrimped and saved, wool. The wealthy might boast of feather beds, soft and lofty, but you're not so lucky. Your mattress is lumpy, the straw poking through the coarse linen like tiny accusations of your station in life. Before you even think of lying down, you give the bedding a good shake. Fleas and lice are as much a part of medieval life as bread and ale, and they love nothing more than to make your bed their kingdom. You run your hands over the blanket, checking for any telltale scurry of movement, and maybe you mutter a quiet curse when you spot a particularly bold critter making a dash for freedom. It's not glamorous, this pre-bed inspection, but it's necessary. You've learned the hard way that neglecting it means waking up with itchy welts, each one a tiny reminder of the night's betrayal. With the bed deemed safe, or as safe as it's going to get, you turn to the rituals that make the night feel secure. The medieval world is alive with stories of what lurks in the dark. Demons with claw-tipped fingers, spirits seeking unguarded souls, even the devil himself, who's said to be fond of midnight mischief. You're practical, not prone to flights of fancy, but you're not about to tempt fate. So you reach for a small vial of holy water, blessed by the village priest at last Sunday's Mass. You sprinkle a few drops around the bed, the faint splash of water on the floorboards sounding like a prayer in itself. The church says holy water repels evil, and while you're not entirely sure it works, it's a comfort, like a warm hand on your shoulder. You move carefully, making sure to douse the corners of the room where shadows pool deepest. Better to be thorough than to wake up with a demon peering over your shoulder. Next comes the rosemary. You keep a small bundle of it, dried and fragrant, tucked away in a wooden box by the hearth. The old women in the village swear by it, claiming a sprig under the pillow wards off nightmares. You're not sure if it's the herb's sharp piney scent or some ancient magic, but you slip a sprig beneath your pillow anyway, its brittle leaves crinkling against the fabric. The rosemary is one of many charms you've picked up over the years, each one a small defense against the uncertainties of sleep. Some folks hang a horseshoe above the bed to keep witches at bay, or tie a red thread around their wrist to confuse malevolent spirits. You've heard of a farmer who sleeps with a knife under his mattress, not for bandits but for the mare, a creature said to sit on your chest and steal your breath. You don't believe in the mare, not really, but you check that your own knife is within reach, just in case. The church looms large over these rituals, its teachings shaping the way you prepare for the night. You kneel by your bed, the floor cold against your knees, and recite a prayer to Saint Michael, the archangel who battles demons. Defend us in battle, you murmur, the words familiar and soothing. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. The prayer is a shield, a way to mark the boundary between the safety of your home and the wild, unpredictable night. You've heard sermons warning that sleep is a vulnerable time when your soul might wander too far from your body, tempting fate or worse. The priests say that's why you must pray before bed, to anchor yourself to God's grace. You're not sure if your soul really goes wandering, but the prayer feels like a tether, grounding you as you prepare to drift into the unknown. There's a touch of irony in all this devotion, though. While you're sprinkling holy water and praying to Saint Michael, you can't help but notice the practical side of these rituals. The rosemary might keep nightmares at bay, but it also masks the musty smell of your mattress. The holy water might ward off demons, but it also gives you a moment to pause, to breathe, to let the day's worries slip away. You're a practical person after all, living in a world where survival depends on cunning as much as faith. You've seen how the church's rules bend when it suits people, how the same priest who preaches against vanity will happily bless a nobleman's featherbed for a few extra coins. You smirk at the thought, but you keep praying. It's a balance, this dance between faith and skepticism, and you've learned to step lightly. The physical act of preparing the bed is its own ritual, one that's almost meditative in its repetition. If you're lucky enough to have a rope bed, you check the tension of the ropes, which tend to sag over time, making your mattress feel like a hammock. You tug at them, muttering, "Sleep tight to yourself," a phrase that's more practical than poetic in this world. If the ropes are too loose, you'll wake with a sore back, and you've got enough aches from the day's work without adding that to the list. If you're sleeping on the floor, as many do, you arrange your cloak or blanket carefully, trying to create a nest that's at least marginally softer than the hard earth beneath. You might pile extra straw near the hearth, where the warmth lingers, and hope the fire doesn't spit embers while you sleep. The medical advice of the time adds another layer to your bedtime routine, and it's as odd as it is earnest. The local physician, a man with a beard like a bird's nest and a penchant for quoting Galen, insists that you sleep on your right side to balance your humours. The humours, blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile, are the cornerstone of medieval medicine, and an imbalance, they say, can lead to anything from a headache to a full-blown plague. Sleeping on your left side, the physician warns, presses on your liver and stirs up melancholy. You're not entirely sure what melancholy is, but it sounds unpleasant, so you roll to your right, even if it means facing your bedmate snoring. The physician also advises against eating too much before bed, claiming it heats the blood and invites feverish dreams. You glance at the empty bowl of pottage by the fire and figure you're safe on that count. Superstition creeps into even the smallest details of your preparations. You avoid placing your shoes upside down, as the old women say it invites bad luck. You make sure your bed isn't aligned north-south, lest it mimic a grave and tempt death to come early. If you're feeling particularly cautious, you might trace a cross in the air above your bed, a final ward against whatever might be lurking. These habits aren't just about fear, they're about control, about carving out a small space of safety in a world that feels unpredictable. You know the harvest might fail, the Lord might raise taxes, or the fever might sweep through the village again. But here, in this moment, with your rosemary and your prayers and your carefully tightened ropes, you can at least prepare for sleep. The irony of all this effort is that it's both deeply serious and faintly absurd. You're guarding against demons and balancing humours, but you're also just trying to get a decent night's rest. The rituals are a comfort, a way to impose order on the chaos of the night. You've heard stories of people who skipped their prayers or forgot their charms and woke to find their livestock dead or their dreams haunted by visions of fire. You're not sure you believe those stories, but you're not willing to test them either. So you sprinkle your holy water, tuck in your rosemary, and say your prayers, each act a small rebellion against the darkness. As you finally climb into bed, the straw crackling beneath you, you feel a quiet satisfaction. The rituals are done, the charms in place, the ropes tightened. The fire in the hearth burns low, casting a soft glow across the room, and the world outside is silent, save for the occasional creak of a tree in the wind. You pull your blanket up, its weight a reassurance, and settle into the familiar lumps of your mattress. Sleep is coming, but it's not just about rest. It's about crossing into a world where dreams might speak and spirits might wander. You close your eyes, the scent of rosemary sharp in your nose, and let the night take you. The demons, if they're out there, will have to find someone else tonight. The night has settled over your 13th century village like a heavy woolen cloak, muffling the sounds of the day and wrapping you in a quiet so deep it feels almost sacred. You're lying in your bed, a creaky frame if you're lucky, a pile of straw if you're not. The coarse blanket pulled up to your chin, its familiar weight a small comfort against the chill. The fire in the hearth has burned down to a soft glow, its embers casting flickering shadows that dance across the timber walls. Outside the world is still, save for the occasional hoot of an owl or the rustle of leaves stirred by a midnight breeze. Your body is weary from the day's work, hauling firewood, mending a fence, or bargaining for a sack of barley at the market. But your mind hovers on the edge of sleep, reluctant to let go. In this medieval world, sleep isn't just a break from the grind, it's a journey into a realm where the lines between reality and mystery blur, where dreams might carry messages from God, the devil, or the stew you shouldn't have eaten at supper. You close your eyes, and as the darkness pulls you under, you know that what happens next, could mean more than you dare to guess. Dreams in this era are not the fleeting, half-forgotten images you might dismiss in some far-off future. They're weighty, potent, like letters sealed with wax and delivered from some unseen hand. As you drift into sleep, the first images begin to form. A white horse galloping across a misty field, its hooves silent against the earth. A river flowing backward, its waters glinting under a moon that's too bright for comfort. A figure cloaked in shadow standing just beyond your reach, its face hidden but its presence heavy. You stir during the watch, that strange quiet hour between your first and second sleeps, and the dream clings to you like damp cloth. What does it mean? You're no scholar, no priest with a library of Latin texts, but you know enough to feel a prickle of curiosity, or maybe unease. A white horse could be a good omen, a sign of a bountiful harvest or a safe journey, but it could also be a warning, a whisper of trouble on the horizon, a raid, a fever, or just the tax collector's heavy hand. You make a mental note to visit the village wise woman tomorrow, though you'll likely have to part with a few eggs or a loaf of bread for her interpretation. Dreams are serious business in medieval Europe, treated with a reverence that borders on obsession. You've heard of the Oneirocritica, a dream interpretation manual written centuries ago by a Greek named Artemidorus, its wisdom still whispered in monasteries and marketplaces. You can't read it, books are for monks and nobles, and you're just a villager with dirt under your nails. But its teachings have trickled down to you through gossip and sermons. Dream of a snake slithering through the grass? That's betrayal, someone close sharpening their knife for your back. Dream of bread, warm and crusty from the oven? That's prosperity, or at least a few weeks without an empty belly. Dream of your teeth falling out, clattering to the ground like spilled coins? Well, that's trouble. Maybe illness, maybe death, or maybe just the nagging worry that your neighbour's cow ate your cabbages again. You shift in your bed, the straw rustling beneath you, and hope tonight's dreams steer clear of teeth or snakes. A loaf of bread wouldn't hurt, though. The church, as always, has plenty to say about dreams, and its voice is both a comfort and a warning. You've sat through sermons where the priest, his face stern above his rough-spun robe, warns that dreams can be the devil's playground, a place where he spins lies to lure you into sin. He told a story once about a man who dreamed of a golden city, its towers gleaming under a cloudless sky, only to wake and find his fields withered. A clear sign, the priest said, that the devil had dangled vanity before him. But the church also teaches that God sends dreams to guide the faithful, visions that light the path to salvation. You've heard tales of saints who dreamed of angels, their wings blazing like the sun, or of martyrs who saw their own deaths and faced them with calm courage. You're no saint, your life more about muddy boots than divine visions, but you can't help wondering if your dreams might hold a sliver of truth, a message from beyond. So before you settle back into your second sleep, you murmur a prayer to Saint Gabriel, the messenger angel, asking for dreams that are clear and kind, not riddles or traps. Let my sleep be peaceful, you whisper, and my dreams true. The words feel like a charm, a soft barrier against the night's uncertainties. There's a quiet irony in this obsession with dreams, a tension between faith and skepticism that you feel even in your sleepy haze. You're practical after all, shaped by a life of hard work and harder winters. You know that not every dream is a prophecy. Sometimes it's just the pottage you ate at supper, heavy with onions and lentils, stirring up strange visions. You've had nights where you dreamed of flying over the village, only to wake with a crick in your neck from a lumpy mattress. But you can't quite shake the feeling that the night is trying to speak to you, if only you could decipher its language. The wise woman, with her gnarled hands and knowing eyes, will nod sagely when you tell her your dreams, but her answers are often vague, like trying to catch smoke. "A horse means change," she might say, or "A river speaks of time." You'll nod back, pretending to understand, but inside you're wondering if she's just guessing, same as you. Still, you'll give her those eggs, because even a vague answer feels better than none. Sleep itself is a mystery, a state that feels both familiar and strange, like stepping into a river you've crossed 1,000 times but never quite mapped. The scholars in far-off cities, with their ink-stained fingers and endless debates, have their theories about what happens when you close your eyes. Some say sleep is when your soul wanders, slipping free of your body to visit distant lands or commune with spirits. Others call it a little death, a rehearsal for the final journey to the afterlife, when your soul will leave for good. You're not sure you buy that. It sounds like something a monk would mutter to scare you into more tithes. But there's a certain poetry to it. When you sleep, you're vulnerable, your body still, your mind open to whatever the night might bring. It's no wonder you sprinkled holy water around your bed earlier, or tucked that sprig of rosemary under your pillow. The night feels alive, watchful, and you're just a small part of its vast, quiet story. As you lie there, the straw prickling through your mattress, you think about the dreams you've had before. There was the one about the crow perched on your fence, its eyes glinting like polished stone. You woke during the watch, heart pounding, and couldn't shake the feeling that it meant something. The wise woman said a single crow means death, but 3 mean a wedding, and you couldn't remember how many you'd seen. Was it 1? 2? The details slipped away like water through your fingers, leaving only a vague unease. You tried to hold on to the image, to pin it down, but dreams are slippery things, more shadow than substance. Another night, you dreamed of falling from a cliff, the ground rushing up to meet you, only to wake with a start, your breath ragged. The priest would say it's a warning to confess your sins, but you suspect it's just the stress of the harvest, the worry that the rains won't come, or the Lord will demand more than you can give. Dreams are like that, half truth, half mystery, and wholly frustrating. The village is full of stories about dreams that changed lives. There's the tale of old Agnes, who dreamed of a fire in the church and warned the priest just in time to save the holy relics. Everyone calls her blessed now, though you suspect she just smelled smoke in her sleep and got lucky. Then there's the miller's son, who dreamed of a treasure buried under an oak and spent weeks digging, only to find nothing but roots and worms. You laughed when you heard that one, but you also checked under your own oak tree, just in case. Dreams have a way of getting under your skin, making you wonder if the world is bigger, stranger, than it seems by daylight. You're practical, yes, but you're also human, and the night has a way of softening your skepticism, making you believe, if only for a moment, that the veil between worlds is thin. The medical men of the time, with their long robes and dubious remedies, have their own ideas about dreams. They say dreams are tied to your humours, those 4 fluids that supposedly govern your body and soul. Too much black bile, and your dreams turn dark, filled with shadows and sorrow. Too much yellow bile, and you'll dream of fire or battles. You'll sleep restless and hot. You've heard the physician in the next town advise eating apples before bed to calm the mind, or avoiding cheese, which he claims heats the blood and invites feverish visions. You're not sure about that. Cheese is hard to come by, and you're not about to waste it on a theory. But you do notice that heavy meals make your dreams wilder, more vivid. Last week, after a feast of roasted mutton and ale, you dreamed of a dragon circling the village, its scales glinting like coins. You woke laughing, but also checked the sky, just to be sure. There's a quiet beauty to this way of seeing sleep, a sense that it's more than just a pause between days. In your world, sleep is a space for meaning, a time when the ordinary can become extraordinary. You're not just resting, you're stepping into a story, one where you might glimpse the future or wrestle with the past. The rosemary under your pillow, the prayers you whispered, the careful way you positioned yourself on your right side, all of it is preparation for this journey. You know the world is hard, full of taxes and fevers, and fields that don't always yield. But sleep, with its dreams and omens, is a refuge, a place where you can be more than a villager, with aching hands and a leaky roof. It's a place where you can fly, or fight, or see things that no one else can see. As you drift toward your second sleep, the images of the night begin to blur. The white horse fades, the river slows, the shadowed figure steps back into the mist. You pull your blanket tighter, the familiar lumps of your mattress a strange comfort. The fire's glow is nearly gone now, and the village is silent, wrapped in the deep, gentle dark. You don't know what dreams will come before dawn, but you're ready for them, or as ready as you can be. Maybe they'll bring answers, maybe riddles, maybe nothing at all. But for now, you let the night take you, trusting that whatever lies beyond your closed eyes is part of the great mysterious tapestry of life. The stars are still out there. The wise woman is waiting with her cryptic words. And sleep, with all its secrets, is yours. As the medieval world fades, you find yourself back in your own bed, the hum of the fan pulling you gently into the present. The straw mattresses, the two sleeps, the rosemary under the pillow, they're all gone, replaced by your soft sheets and the faint glow of a streetlight outside. But you can't help but smile at the thought of those medieval sleepers, with their odd habits and earnest superstitions. They weren't so different from you, really, just trying to make sense of the night, one dream at a time. So as you close your eyes, maybe think about that watch, that quiet hour between sleeps. Maybe light a candle, just for fun, or whisper a prayer to keep the fleas away. Or maybe just drift off, knowing that history is full of strange little stories waiting to lull you into sleep. Good night. Let's jump into another story that's not about kings or castles, not about battles or banners waving in the wind. No, this is about a single soul, a serf, who slipped through the cracks of history's grand tapestry. A person who, against all odds, decided to run. It's a tale of muddy fields, whispered plans, and the kind of stubborn hope that grows in the dark. Isn't it strange how the smallest lives can carry the weight of a whole era's forgotten dreams? Hey guys, tonight we begin with a story that's not about knights charging into battle or kings carving their names into stone. It's about a single stubborn soul, a serf named Edric, who dared to dream beyond the furrows of his field. Isn't it odd how history, so full of grand tales, often forgets the quiet ones who carried the weight of an entire age on their bent backs? If you enjoy these whispers from the past, maybe give a like or subscribe. But only if you're in the mood. No hurry. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan, and let the world slip away. Picture yourself in a small, smoky cottage, the year 1342, somewhere in the muddy heart of England. The stars are just waking up, and a man named Edric is about to feel the stirrings of something dangerous. Hope. You wake up in medieval Europe, your body curled on a thin mat of rushes that smells faintly of damp and decay. The air is heavy with wood smoke, and the faint glow of embers in the hearth casts shadows on the rough walls of your family's cottage. You're Edric, a serf bound to Lord Wulfric's manor, a patchwork of fields and obligations in the rolling hills of England. Your life isn't your own, it belongs to the land, to the seasons, to the church's relentless bell, and to the Lord's ever-watchful eye. Every morning you rise before dawn to plough, sow or reap, your hands rough as tree bark, your shoulders stooped from years of hauling and digging. You owe the Lord 3 days of work each week, a portion of your meagre harvest, and Here's the twist that stings: a fine if you dare marry without his permission. Freedom is a word you've heard in stories, meant for merchants with their jingling purses or monks with their quiet cloisters. For you, it's as distant as the stars. This morning, though, something feels different. You pull on your coarse tunic, the fabric patched and scratchy, and step outside into the pre-dawn chill. The sky is a bruise of purple and grey, the horizon smudged with mist. The village is still asleep, save for the soft cluck of chickens and the distant lowing of a cow. You trudge toward the fields, your boots sinking into the mud, each step a reminder of the life you're tethered to. The manor house looms in the distance, its stone walls squat and unyielding, like a fist pressed against the earth. You pass the hedgerow, where thorns snag at your sleeves, and pause to catch your breath. The air carries a faint scent of pine from the forest beyond the manor's bounds, a place you've never ventured. It's then, in that quiet moment, that a thought creeps in, unbidden and dangerous. What if you could leave? The idea is absurd, like a mouse plotting to outrun a cat. You've heard the stories, serfs who ran and were dragged back, their families fined, their lives made harder. The Lord's Reeve, a man with a face like a weathered plank, keeps a sharp eye on everyone. Escape means risking everything. The cottage where your mother hums old songs, the fields where your sister Alf Gifu scatters seed with a practiced hand, the fragile rhythm of a life you've always known. Yet the thought lingers, sparked by a tale you overheard last week at the village well. A traveller, his cloak stained with road dust, spoke of a serf who fled to a town, York maybe, or Lincoln, and lived there for a year and a day. The law, he said, was clear. Survive in a chartered town for that long, and you're free. No lord can claim you. It sounds like something out of a bard's song, too good to be true. But the traveller's eyes were steady, and his words have stuck with you, like a splinter you can't quite pull out. You shake your head and keep walking, the plough waiting in the field. The day unfolds as it always does. You guide the oxen, their breath steaming in the cold, and turn the heavy soil until your arms ache. The other serfs work alongside you, their faces lined with the same weariness, their voices low to avoid the reeve's notice. There's Wolf, who jokes about stealing an extra loaf from the Lord's bakehouse, though he'd never dare. There's Cinnaberg, who sings hymns under her breath, her voice thin but steady. You're all bound together, not by choice but by the land itself. You wonder if they've ever dreamed of running, or if they've buried that hope so deep it's forgotten. You don't ask. Some things are too heavy to speak aloud. By midday the sun breaks through the clouds, weak but warm. You sit under an oak, chewing a crust of bread that's more grit than grain. The reeve passes by, his staff tapping the ground, and you keep your eyes down. He's not cruel, not exactly, but he's loyal to the Lord, and that's enough. You think about the traveller's story again, turning it over in your mind like a worn coin. A year and a day. It's a long time to hide, to survive, to avoid the men who'd hunt you like a fox. You'd need food, a plan, a place to go. You'd need to leave Alf Gifu and your mother, who rely on you to haul water and mend the roof. The guilt of that thought sits like a stone in your chest. But the alternative is this: a life of labour, of owing, of never choosing. You're not old, maybe 20 winters, though you've lost count, but you feel the years piling up, each one heavier than the last. The afternoon drags on, and you mend a fence, the wood splintering under your hands. The reeve lingers nearby, muttering about the Lord's new tax for the church. You nod, say nothing, and keep working. But your mind is elsewhere, tracing paths through the fields, imagining the roads beyond. You've never left the manor's bounds, not really, but you've seen maps in the church, crude drawings of rivers and towns. Lincoln feels possible, not too far, a place where a man could disappear into the bustle of markets and guilds. You've heard it's big, bigger than anything you can imagine, with walls and gates and people who don't know your name. The thought is thrilling and terrifying, like standing at the edge of a cliff. As the sun dips low, painting the sky in streaks of gold, you head back to the cottage. The village is waking up now, alive with the clatter of pots and the laughter of children too young to work the fields. You pass the church, its bell silent for once, and catch a glimpse of the priest sweeping the steps. He's a kind man, but he'd report a runaway in a heartbeat, bound by his own oaths. You keep walking, your steps slow, deliberate. The cottage smells of pottage, barley and herbs, the same meal every night. Your mother stirs the pot, her hands gnarled from years of work, while Alf Gifu mends a torn shift by the firelight. They don't notice the way you hesitate at the door, the way your eyes linger on the horizon. You eat in silence, the fire crackling, the world outside growing dark. Alf Gifu hums a tune, one your mother taught her, and it's almost enough to make you forget the spark in your chest. Almost. You think about the law again, a year and a day. It's a promise, fragile as a spider's web, but it's there. You imagine yourself in a town, no lord to answer to, no reeve watching your every move. The irony isn't lost on you. The same system that chains you to this land offers a loophole, a crack in the wall. But to reach it, you'd have to risk everything. Your family, your safety, your life. You lie down on your mat, the straw poking through the thin cloth. The cottage is quiet now, save for your mother's soft breathing and the occasional pop of the fire. You stare at the ceiling, the beams blackened by years of smoke, and let the thought take root. Could you do it? Could you run? The stars outside are hidden by clouds, but you know they're there, waiting to guide you. You close your eyes, the weight of the day pressing down, and for the first time, you let yourself dream of a life that's yours. Hey guys, tonight we continue with Edric, a serf whose heart has caught a dangerous spark, the idea of running, of slipping free from the chains of his lord's manor. It's not a tale of swords or glory, but of quiet, stubborn hope, the kind that grows in the dark corners of a hard life. Funny, isn't it, how a single whispered story can unravel a man's whole world? If you're enjoying this slow drift through history's shadows, maybe give a like or subscribe, but only if it feels right. For now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan, and let the world fade. You're in 1342, in a muddy English village, where the stars are bright and a serf named Edric is weaving a plan as fragile as a cobweb. You wake up in the same cramped cottage, the air thick with the scent of damp straw and last night's fire. You're Edric, still bound to Lord Wulfric's manor, your days a cycle of plough and prayer, your life a debt you can never pay. But that spark from a week ago, the traveller's tale of a serf who fled to a town and won his freedom, has grown into a quiet flame. It's dangerous, this feeling, like holding a hot coal in your hand. You can't let it go, but you can't let it burn you either. So you keep it close, hidden, and start to plan. The manor is awake before dawn, as always. You pull on your patched tunic, the coarse wool itching against your skin, and step into the chill. The sky is a deep grey, the stars fading as the village stirs, chickens clucking, a dog barking somewhere near the mill. You head to the fields, your boots sinking into the familiar mud, but today you're not just walking, you're watching. The paths that snake beyond the manor's borders catch your eye, narrow tracks worn by shepherds and travellers, leading to places you've never seen. You notice the reeve, the lord's overseer, with his sharp eyes and sharper staff, dozing by the barn after his midday ale. You see the forest in the distance, its edges dark and wild, a place where a man could disappear. Every detail is a thread in the tapestry you're starting to weave. planning is slow, deliberate, like carving a name into a tree. You can't just walk away. The Reeves men would hunt you down before you reached the next village. You'd be a runaway, a criminal, your family left to face the Lord's wrath. A fine, a whipping, or worse, they'd pay for your dream. The thought of your sister Ælfgifu, with her quick smile and quicker wit, and your mother, her hands worn from years of grinding grain, twists your gut. But staying means accepting a life that's already half buried, your days owned by the land, your future as fixed as the stars. So you plan, because what else can you do? You start small. At night, when the cottage is quiet, you hoard scraps of bread, crust too hard for anyone to miss. You wrap them in a cloth and hide them beneath a loose floorboard, the wood creaking under your careful fingers. It's not much, a few bites, maybe enough for a day or two, but it's a start. You steal glances at the night sky, learning the stars' patterns, the way the plough points north. You've heard of towns, Lincoln, York, places where a man can blend into the crowd, where the air smells of coin instead of manure. The traveller's story comes back to you. A year and a day in a chartered town, and you're free. It's a law as strange as it is tantalizing, a crack in the wall of your world. You listen to travellers when they pass through, their voices rough with road dust. They talk of towns hungry for hands, bakers, weavers, labourers. A serf's life is tied to the land, but a town runs on trade, and trade doesn't care if you were born in chains. You hear of Lincoln, a city with high walls and busy markets, far enough to be safe but close enough to reach in a few nights' travel. You imagine its streets, crowded with faces that don't know your name, your past. The thought is dizzying, like staring into a river and wondering if you could swim. But a plan needs more than dreams. You need a story, a lie to tell if someone stops you. You practice it in your head as you haul manure across the fields. I'm a freeman's cousin heading to market. It's flimsy, but it's something. You practice your walk too, trying to move like a man who belongs on the road, not a serf skulking from his lord. You test it one morning, slipping past the village to a stream where no one watches. You stand straighter, hold your head higher, and speak your lie to the water. The reflection staring back looks unconvinced, but you keep trying. One night, under a moonless sky, you confide in Ælfgifu. She's mending a basket by the fire, her fingers nimble despite the cold. You've waited until your mother is asleep, her soft snores filling the cottage. You kneel beside Ælfgifu, your voice barely a whisper. I'm thinking of running, you say. Her hands freeze and her eyes, sharp, always seeing through you, meet yours. You expect her to laugh, to call you a fool, but she just stares, her face pale in the firelight. If you go, she says at last, you can't come back, they'd punish us all. Her words are a blade, cold and true. The Lord's justice is blunt, fines, whippings, or worse for a runaway's family. You swallow, your throat tight, and promise to send for her when you're free. It's a thin promise, fragile as frost, but she nods, her lips pressed tight. Be careful, Edric, she says, and goes back to her basket, as if nothing has changed. The days that follow are a balancing act. You work the fields, your hands steady but your mind racing. Every creak of the cottage door makes you jump. Every glance from the reeve feels like a noose tightening. You start to see the manor differently, not as home, but as a cage. The fields, once familiar, now watch you with silent judgment. The church bell, tolling for prayers, feels like a warning. Even the other serfs, your neighbours, seem distant, as if they sense the secret you're carrying. The irony is sharp. The land that feeds you, that shaped every moment of your life, is also your prison. You're betraying it, and it knows. You keep planning, though, because stopping would mean giving up. You steal a flint from the smith's yard, tucking it into your sack with the bread. You find a worn cloak, discarded near the mill, and hide it under the floorboard. Each small act feels like a rebellion, a quiet defiance of the life you were born into. You lie awake at night, tracing the paths in your mind, north through the fields, past the village of Thorn, toward Lincoln. You imagine the Reeves men, their dogs sniffing the air, and wonder if you're fast enough, clever enough, to outrun them. The stars outside are your only allies, their light steady and cold. As the weeks pass, the plan takes shape, but so does the fear. You're not just running from the manor, you're running from everything you've ever known. Eilfgifu's warning echoes in your head, and you think of your mother, her hands trembling as she stirs the pottage. The weight of it all presses down, heavier than any yoke. But the flame in your chest burns brighter now, fed by every story, every stolen scrap, every starlit night. You're not ready yet, but you will be. The world is waiting, and for the first time, you believe you might find a place in it. Hey guys, tonight we slip deeper into Edric's story, a serf whose quiet rebellion has grown from a spark to a flame. This isn't a tale of clashing armies or shining heroes, but of one man, alone, stepping into the dark with nothing but a sack of bread and a stubborn dream. Isn't it strange how the smallest choices can feel like defying the whole world? If you're savouring this slow unravelling of a forgotten life, maybe give a like or subscribe, but only if you're feeling it. No rush. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan, and let the world melt away. It's 1342, a crisp autumn night in an English village, and Edric is about to run. The stars are watching, and so are we. You're Edric, standing in the doorway of your family's cottage, the air sharp with frost and the scent of dying leaves. The manor is asleep, its fields silent under a sky pricked with stars. For weeks you've planned, hoarded, whispered to yourself in the dark. Tonight it's real. Your heart thuds, a traitor giving you away, but your hands are steady as you pull the rough cloak tighter around your shoulders. Inside the cottage, your mother sleeps, her breath a soft rhythm, unaware of the goodbye you can't bring yourself to speak. Eilfgifu, your sister, knows. She's awake, her eyes glinting in the firelight as she watches you. You meet her gaze, and the weight of her warning from weeks ago, about the Lord's wrath, about punishment, hangs between you. You nod, a promise to send for her when you're free, though the words feel thin, like smoke. She nods back, her face tight, and turns away. There's nothing more to say. Your sack is light, pitifully so. A few crusts of bread, a flint, a single turnip, and the worn cloak you stole from the mill. It's not enough for the journey to Lincoln, the town you've chosen for its walls and its promise of a year and a day. But it's all you have. You've picked tonight because the harvest is in, the manor's stores are full, and the Lord's hall is alive with a feast. The Reeve and his men will be distracted, their bellies full of ale, their eyes less sharp. You step outside, the door creaking softly, and the cold bites at your fingers. The village is a shadow, its cottages hunched under thatched roofs, the church's silhouette looming like a silent judge. A dog barks in the distance, and you freeze, but no one stirs. The stars are your map, the plough pointing north, and you take your first step. You move along the edge of the fields, avoiding the main paths where travellers or the Reeves men might spot you. The ground is uneven, the frost making the grass crunch under your boots. Every rustle in the bushes, a rabbit, a fox, sends your pulse racing. You imagine bandits lurking in the shadows, or worse, the Lord's men with their dogs and their torches. You've heard stories of runaways caught before dawn, dragged back to face the whip or the stocks. The manor's laws are clear. Your property, as much as the oxen or the plough. To run is to steal yourself, and the Lord doesn't take kindly to thieves. But you keep moving, your breath clouding in the air, your steps slow but deliberate. The forest looms ahead, its dark edge a promise and a threat. By the time the sky lightens, you're miles away, crouched in a copse of trees, your legs aching and your feet blistered. The manor is a memory now, hidden beyond the hills, but you're not safe. You're a fugitive, a shadow slipping through a world that doesn't want you free. You pull the cloak tighter, the fabric smelling of mildew, and eat half a crust of bread. It's stale, gritty, but you chew slowly, savouring it like a feast. The irony hits you. You're starving, filthy, hunted, yet you feel more alive than you ever did in the fields. No bell tolls to call you to work. No reeve watches your every move. For the first time, the day is yours, even if it's borrowed. You sleep in fits, curled against a tree, waking at every snap of a twig. The forest is alive with sounds. Owls, wind, the distant howl of a wolf that makes your skin prickle. You think of Ælfgifu, her sharp eyes, her quiet nod. You think of your mother, stirring pottage, unaware her son is gone. Guilt gnaws at you, but you push it down. You've chosen Lincoln, a city of markets and strangers, where a serf can vanish into the crowd. You've heard it's a place of stone walls and endless noise, nothing like the manor's muddy silence. The law, your fragile hope, says a year and a day there will make you free. You cling to that thought, letting it warm you as the cold seeps into your bones. The next night you move again, sticking to ditches and hedgerows, the stars, your only guide. The roads are dangerous, too open, too travelled, but you glimpse one in the moonlight, a ribbon of dirt stretching north. You avoid it, cutting through fields instead, the frost-bitten grass soaking your boots. Once a peddler stops you, his cart creaking under a load of pots. "Where you headed, lad?" he asks, his eyes narrow but tired. You mumble your practiced lie, "I'm a freeman's cousin, off to market," and he waves you on, uninterested. Your heart pounds as you walk away, expecting a shout, a chase, but none comes. The world, it seems, is too busy to care about one runaway serf. Another night, you hear hoofbeats and dive into a bramble patch, thorns tearing at your hands and face. You lie still, barely breathing, as the sound fades. Maybe it was a merchant, maybe a knight, maybe nothing at all. You don't wait to find out. You crawl out wincing and keep moving. The sack grows lighter with every meal, the turnip long gone, the bread dwindling. Hunger is a constant now, a dull ache that keeps you sharp. You find a stream and drink, the water so cold it hurts your teeth. You refill a small flask you fashioned from a hollowed gourd, another stolen piece of your old life. Every step north feels like a theft, a small victory against the manor that owned you. Days blur into nights, each one a test of your nerve. You sleep in ditches, under bushes, your cloak a poor shield against the autumn chill. You avoid villages, their lights tempting but deadly. A serf alone is a question no one trusts. You think of the traveller's story, the year and a day, and wonder if you're mad to believe it. But there's no turning back now. The manor is behind you, its fields and its chains fading into the dark. Ahead is Lincoln, a dream you can't yet see, but you feel it, pulling you like a tide. You walk on, the stars winking above, as if they know your secret and approve. Hey guys, tonight we follow Edric into the next step of his quiet rebellion, a serf who's traded the manor's chains for the uncertain promise of a new life. This isn't a story of grand triumphs or shining cities, but of one man slipping through the cracks, finding a foothold in a world that doesn't yet know his name. Isn't it curious how freedom can feel so fragile, like a breath you're afraid to let out? If you're enjoying this gentle drift through history's shadows, maybe give a like or subscribe. But only if it suits you. no pressure. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan, and let the world fade. It's 1342, and you're standing at the gates of Lincoln, a town buzzing with life, where Edric is about to become someone new. You're Edric, and after days of trudging through frost and fear, Lincoln rises from the morning mist like a vision. The town's walls are tall grey stone, patched with moss and thyme, their gates yawning open to swallow a stream of carts, peddlers, and travellers. You clutch your tattered cloak, the sack on your shoulder nearly empty. Just a crust of bread and a flint remain. Your boots are caked with mud, your hands scratched from brambles, but you're here. The air smells of baked bread, leather, and the sharp tang of dung, a chaos of life that makes the manor's quiet fields feel like a dream you've left behind. You slip through the gate, just another weary face in the crowd, your heart pounding as you wait for a shout, a hand on your shoulder. But no one stops you, no one cares. The town is a maze, its streets narrow and twisting, lined with timbered houses leaning over the cobblestones. Merchants shout their wares, fish, cloth, pots clanging in rhythm with their voices. A baker tosses a loaf to a customer, a dog darts under a cart, and children chase each other through the muck. You've never seen so many people, so much noise, and it's both thrilling and terrifying. You keep your head down, your steps quick but not too quick, afraid to draw eyes. You're not Edric the Serf here, not yet a freeman either, just a shadow, a man with no name until you can claim one. The law, that fragile hope, says you need a year and a day in this chartered town to be free. You count the hours already, each one a step towards something you can't quite imagine. You need work, a place to sleep, a way to blend in. You wander until you find a brewer's yard, its air thick with the sour smell of malt. The brewer, a broad man with a beard like a bramble patch, eyes you as you approach. Need a hand? You ask, your voice steadier than you feel. He grunts, points to a stack of barrels. Move those, don't dawdle. No questions about your past, no demand for a name. You nod and get to work, hauling the heavy oak barrels, your arms burning, but your heart light. The pay is a few pennies and a corner of the yard to sleep in, a pile of sacks for a bed. It's not much, but it's yours, earned by your own hands, not owed to a lord. Life in Lincoln is a dance of survival. You learn to keep your story vague. Came from a village south, you say, if anyone asks. Most don't. The town is too busy, its people caught in their own struggles. You haul barrels, sweep floors, carry sacks of grain for the brewer, your body aching but your mind sharp. You watch the market, learning its rhythms, the way merchants haggle, the way guards linger near the gates. You hear rumours of runaways hunted by lords, their names shouted in villages miles away. Once a man in a tavern speaks of a serf caught near York, dragged back to face the stocks. You sip your watered ale, your face blank, and slip out before anyone looks too closely. The fear never leaves, but you bury it, like a seed you hope won't grow. The town is a world unto itself, its walls a shield and a cage. You learn its alleys, its shortcuts, the places where no one lingers. You sleep lightly, waking at every creak, every shout, expecting the Reeves men to find you, but they don't. Lincoln is too big, too chaotic, and you're too small to matter. You start to believe you might make it. You save your pennies, hiding them in a crack in the brewer's wall, dreaming of a better bed, a warmer cloak. You eat what you can, stale bread, a bowl of pottage from a cook shop, a bruised apple from the market scraps. Hunger is familiar, but now it's a choice, not a chain. At night, lying on your sacks, the town's hum fades to a lullaby cartwheels, distant laughter, her sharp eyes and quiet courage, and your mother, stirring pottage in a cottage you may never see again. You've no way to send word, no coin to spare, but you imagine them hearing your story someday, a tale of a serf who slipped free. The guilt is a quiet ache, but you push it down, focusing on the days ticking by. You count them in your head: 30, 60, 90 H1, a small victory. The brewer grumbles but keeps you on, your hands steady as you stack barrels, your lies smoother with practice. You're not safe yet, but you're here, breathing air that tastes like possibility. The irony isn't lost on you. A serf, the lowest of the low, living in a town that doesn't know his name, weaving a life from scraps of courage. You pass a church one evening, its bells tolling softly, and think of the manners bell, the one that ruled your days. Here, the bells mark time, not ownership. You're a shadow still. But shadows can move, can grow. You lie back on your sacks, the stars hidden by the town's smoke, and let yourself dream of a year and a day when you'll stand in this market square and call yourself free. The seasons turn, and Lincoln becomes your world. You're no hero, no legend, just Edric, the brewer's hand, a man with a new name and a new life. The year and a day pass, and no one comes for you. The law, that strange, distant thing, declares you free. You stand in the market square, watching the crowd, and realize you've done it. You've slipped through history's fingers. The irony isn't lost on you. A serf, the lowest of the low, outwitted a system built to crush him. You're not rich, not powerful, but you're here, breathing air that's yours. Maybe one day you'll find a way to bring Alfgifu to Lincoln, to show her this messy, marvelous place. For now, you walk back to the brewer's yard, the stars above winking like they've known your secret all along. And as you drift off, the world's soft and quiet, you know this story isn't over. It's just begun.